I am Kira. If you annoy me, I will destroy you from space.
What is going on, guys? Jack here, and today I've got a slightly different video because I want to take a look at a video that I did 2 years ago. In this video, I went through a lot of unreleased mercs and content that could be found in the files of DirtyBomb, but wasn't actually playable. Now, of course, the year is now 2017, times have moved on, and a lot of these things have made their way into DirtyBomb, and today there's 3 or 4 that I want to look at in quite some detail, just look at how they've changed since we first saw them in the game. I also have a few other bits, that you may not have seen in those videos, because those videos are really old. If you would like to see the 2 separate videos I did on unreleased content, with kind of a commentary that I did back then, you can find them in the description. And other than that, let's get started. So anyway, the first weapon I thought we'd take a look at is Javelin's RPG, of course, freshly added to the game. At the time of recording this video, Javelin wasn't even confirmed really to be real. There was an RPG in the game. As you can see, it shares some aesthetic properties with Javelin's actual RPG. The 142 kind of spray-painted numbers are on the side, and I guess the colour palette is similar, but it hasn't got that guided feature. At this point in time, it was just a big grenade that you fired out, and obviously when you now compare it to the sci-fi polished finish of the new rocket launcher with the big heads-up display, it suddenly seems a lot more high-tech than what we had previously. You kind of look at Javelin's first rocket, it looks kind of like a traditional RPG, whereas, of course, with Javelin's new rocket with the guided mode, it's a little bit sci-fi, and obviously it does look better because it wasn't finished before, but it's kind of interesting to see how they kind of deviated on the design. I can only assume that's because they were worried it would be a little bit too similar to Fragger. Anyway, the next merc we're going to have a look at here is Turtle's shield. So what you can see in front of you is Turtle's original shield. This was actually showcased in the E3 Scrubs trailer on the official DirtyBomb YouTube channel and at E3. And as you can see, looking at this shield, I mean, it's basically a hurdle. It's waist high. It doesn't really provide that much cover. It's a little bit clunky to deal with in terms of getting over it. It's not as big, of course, as the energy shield that we have now and that you can see on your screen. But at the same time, it deploys in a very similar way. I kind of like the way the shield, whilst the kind of big main parts of the shield have completely changed, the shield hasn't actually deviated that massively from its original design in terms of the general aesthetic. Obviously, the fact it's an energy shield versus the wall shield is very much the same, but the shield, of course, is deployed from Turtle's back, and it's always been that way, and so it's kind of interesting to see how it's changed to be a transparent shield you can see and shoot through rather than what we had previously. Anyway, the next weapon I thought we'd take a look at is the katana, and as you can see on screen here, this is me just going crazy with it for the first time, holding down left click. Of course, the files that were in DirtyBomb at the time of testing this were completely unfinished. I can only assume that the melee value for the katana hadn't been given kind of a delay, because, I mean, you're going pretty mental with this when you hold left click, slashing here, there and everywhere, and of course, some of you may remember at launch, the katana had a crazy hitbox. There was a rather infamous DirtyBomb Beyblade video that went around with this old katana. Anyway, looking at the new kind of katana as it is in game, obviously a lot slower, more polished. The actual model hasn't changed a whole lot. And whilst you can still spin whilst right-clicking, of course, it doesn't have the same hitbox that it once did. Anyway, the next item on this list, and perhaps the one that's kind of changed the most, is Amy's third eye. As you can see here, it acted very much like a grenade with a kind of dip, and when you threw it down, you were able to switch to see what the camera could see. And whilst I could only spawn this in offline mode, I can only assume that you were able to spot enemies with this camera. It's kind of an interesting idea, that you could lob it up on a wall and then use it kind of like a CCTV camera. Granted, it kind of has somewhat limited uses because of the fact, of course, that you are not able to fight back whilst in this view. Maybe if it was to be a little picture-in-picture display, so if you played Amy in the bottom right-hand corner, you could see this kind of security camera footage. That would have been an alternate way to go, although that might have been very heavy on people's machines. I'm kind of glad they didn't do Amy's kind of third eye in this way, but it's still interesting to see it. Of course, it doesn't have the grenade physics seen in this video. Amy's third eye, it's Snitch, as it's now affectionately called, of course, glides rather than exploding. The general aesthetic of it hasn't changed, but functionally, obviously, it's changed a lot, perhaps even on par with kind of the amount that Javelin's rockets changed. I'd be interested to know what you guys thought of the old Amy design. Could it have worked in game? How would you have done things differently? Of course, the new Snitch kind of glides. It can go really far away. It spots enemies, but it also kind of increases the damage that they take. And all in all, obviously, it kind of stands out on its own 2 legs, but is a little bit different. Anyway, just a little bit of bonus footage to finish off this video. There were other abilities that I reviewed in this video originally back in 2015, however they didn't change that greatly. What you can see on screen is some throwing knives. I'm not even sure if these are still in the game files. Originally the perk Quick Slash actually was a throwing knife perk, and you've got these knives that you could throw around. I don't know what damage they could do, the physics on them's a little bit crazy. But kind of, I thought I'd just throw it in as a bit of bonus footage, I guess, if you've never seen these before. Would you like to see throwing knives come back? Let me know. How could they work? Would you do it as an augment? Anyway, last thing I'm going to show in this video is the fact that you used to be able to spawn in an item by typing in hacking device. Now, it's worth noting, in the same way you can spawn in weapons, you're able to spawn in stuff like bombs, PDAs, you know, for defusing stuff. So the fact we had this hacking device makes me wonder if there were, at one point, hacking objectives. If I'm not mistaken, the last point at Underground at some point during the alpha, which I must confess I wasn't playing during, but at some point during the alpha, the last stage of Underground was a hack objective. So that could be something to keep an eye out going forward. Could we see hack objectives make a return? Would you want to see them? Let me know once more. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it from me. Not perhaps the normal kind of video I do, but I wanted to cover this just because I wanted to discuss what's changed and show you guys. I know there's a lot of new people here on the channel who perhaps didn't play DirtyBomb back in 2015, perhaps didn't even see that video I did back then. I hope you found this video interesting. Which of these abilities do you wish could go back to how it was? I think for me, I'd love to see how Amy's old third eye would have played out. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy this video, do leave a like on it. If you've got any comments, leave them down below. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.